Now I am.
Okay.
Eighth of
Okay.
Rabbi Levitt, Pele Yoetz.
Okay. Good morning, everybody. Okay. We got in. Wasn't yeah. Baruch Hashem. Okay, so where are we up to now? In the Pele Yoetz.
Is it page 41?
I think that's right, yes. It is prohibited.
Okay. Page 41, it is prohibited. Okay. So we call upon Mayor to start.
Okay, 41.
So what
Well,
page
we're-
we going to?
Page 41, it is prohibited.
Okay, I see this. Okay, middle, sort of the middle. It is prohibited to castrate a human being or any species of animal, of any animal or fowl. It is even prohibited to tell a Gentile to castrate an animal. It is prohibited to delay the fulfillment of a vow. A person who promised to make a donation to the poor people, even though he did not use the language of a vow, is considered to having made a binding vow, and he is obligated to pay immediately. Fulfillment of his vows due to forgetfulness, he will be sorely punished with the death of his wife and small children. Wow. Heaven should save us. It is prohibited to violate one's vow or oath without a prior dissolution. It is prohibited to violate any prohibition or commit any act which would cause a desecration of God's name. A Torah scholar or a person held in high esteem as a righteous individual, yet who is careless in regard to meticulous performance of mitzvot and causes people to speak about him disparagingly, behold, he has desecrated God's name. Jews who lie to Gentiles and steal from them cause the Gentiles to say that the Jews do not have a Torah and therefore are included among those who desecrate God's name. The sin of desecrating God's name is more severe than excision and capital punishment. And it goes on, let's see. Mitzvot, which are, that's a different subject.
It's sort of
It's an addendum. I can go on.
yeah, you could call it that. That's a good word to
Okay.
call it. That's a fancy word.
Mitzvot, which are dependent on time. It is prohibited to perform any manner of work on Shabbat and Yom Tov. It is prohibited to possess and see leavened products during Pesach. Oh, that's interesting.
What's interesting?
Well, we have to see what he means, but it says it's prohibited to possess and
Right.
see leavened products during Pesach. Now, does that mean in one's home, or does that mean anywhere, or? I don't know what.
So this is referring to the two isurim of Bal Yeroah, Bal Yemotze.
Mhm.
There's two separate isurim involved in chametz, and right. It sounds like one prohibition is to see it. So if you don't see it, you haven't violated that. It's not clear that that's the case. But if one possesses it, that's certainly the issur of possessing it. And you're asking, what about if it's not in my house, but it's let's say it's well, this is the subject in the Gemara Psachim. If a Jew borrows money from a non-Jew before Pesach, and as a collateral to guarantee the payment, he gives the non-Jew chametz. That's his collateral. So there's a discussion over there in the Gemara about whether the Jew is in violation. Is that collateral regarded as owned by the Jew, but it's in the goy's premises, but it's still owned by the Jew? Or do we say that no, the way the collateral works is that it's considered that it's basically, for all intents and purposes, since it's been given to the non-Jew for as a guarantee, that it's basically his until the Jew pays it back and takes the chametz back. But that's just a question about the whole issue of collateral. Is it called the Jews, or is it called put it in the trash heap on Erev Shabbos. Erev Pesach.
Rabbi, you were frozen for a while.
Oh, okay.
For about half a minute.
So if the question is, unless a Jew disposes of his chametz, which with the intention of being mafkiret, with the intention of the reason that he's putting it in the trash heap, or the reason he's putting it in some other place, is because he's relinquishing his ownership of it. So the fact that it may be in a different location other than his house or other than his office, let's say, but it's in a third party's house, let's say, but he wasn't ever mafkiret, that's still I mean, really,
Robert, you're frozen, Rabbi. I don't know if you can hear me.
And either I mean, it's certainly included in his sale. Put the address where it's located. If he puts the address where it's located, then there's no problem with that. But the fact that it's in a location not in his house doesn't mean that he doesn't own it.
Right.
You get frozen occasionally. Sorry. That's
Okay.
all right. Oh, yeah.
Okay. So that takes care of the mitzvahs losasei mina Torah that are toli biyodayim and could be fulfilled every day. And now we're going to go to section 22. The positive, the mitzvahs say, the mitzvahs losas say, midibrei kabbalah, midibrei sofrim, talui biyadayim. This is on page 22. bottom of page, I'm sorry, it's on page 41,
Number 22.
number 22, yes. Yeah, okay. Okay, and we call upon Lou to continue, please.
It is a mitzvah to ritually wash one's hands before eating bread or before eating a food which is dipped in a liquid, sauce, or dip. It is a mitzvah to wash hands after the meal. A person who disregards this practice will suffer a shortened life. The Holy Zohar is very stringent in this practice. It is a mitzvah to wash one's hands before praying, even when one knows that his hands are clean. It is a mitzvah to light candles for Shabbos. It is a mitzvah to light candles for Hanukkah. It is a mitzvah to make an Erev Chatzeros, mixing of private domains to allow carrying from residence to residence for Shabbos. There's a mitzvah to make an Erev Tafshilin to allow cooking on a Yom Tov for the Shabbos, which immediately follows it. Since the Holy Temple was destroyed, the sages enacted the following. A groom should place some ashes on his head in the place of the tefillin before his marriage. A man should leave an unfinished space the size of an amma opposite the front door when he plasters his house. Excuse me, I got to take a call.
Okay. Go to Roy.
Agriculture.
Continue from there.
Agricultural gifts to the poor, which are a Torah obligation in the land of Israel. For example, Pele, Levitt, and Sichacha. I haven't come across that. Sichacha.
Shechacha.
Shichacha, what's that?
These are the three matnas anim, gifts to the poor, that a person who owns a field in Eretz Yisrael, he leaves over a portion of the field for the anim, or when he's from the other portions of the field, when he gathers those when he harvests and gathers. So leket and shechacha apply over there if he forgot one of the wheat stalks over there. This is what we saw in the Megillus Rus. How Rus was very, very knowledgeable and punctilious in her observance of these mitzvahs, not to take more than the ani is allowed to take from the produce of the owner of the field.
Okay, right. So those things, the Pele, Lechet, Shichacha, as well as Peret or a lot in a vineyard, are a rabbinic obligation in the diaspora. It's a Torah obligation in Torah obligation in Eretz Yisrael and rabbinic obligation in the diaspora. It is prohibited.
Okay, that's what he said.
It is prohibited to do any manner of work from the break of dawn until one has prayed Shacharis. It is prohibited to do any manner of work on the eve of Shabbos or Yom Tov from the time of Mincha, approximately 2.5 hours before sunset, and on the eve of Pesach from noon. A mourner is not allowed to don tefillin on the first day of his mourning until the second day after sunrise. The first 3 days of mourning, a mourner is not allowed to do any manner of work. This also applies to a poor man who is supported by charity. Does that work? Beyond the first 3 days, if he is a poor man, he should do work privately in his home. Since the destruction of the Holy Temple, the sages decreed that one should not celebrate and listen to the playing of musical and other sound-making instruments. Even singing is prohibited unless it is a song and praise of the Holy One, blessed be he. It is rabbinically prohibited to plant a mixture of seeds in a vineyard, and in the diaspora.
Okay, so these are all mitzvahs d'Rabbanan.
Also, be a mitzvah Torah, be a mitzvah Torah in Eretz Yisrael, the mixture.
Yes, yes, right. He's saying that prohibition though applies also in Chutz La'aretz, midrabanan.
Mm.
Okay, very good. A round of applause for page 41. Hooray, hooray. And now we go to number 23, paragraph 23. Mitzvahs essay and losasay of the Torah. You notice I don't like to say positive and negative mitzvahs because I don't want to say anything negative about a mitzvah. I don't like the expression.
All right.
So,
To do and not to do.
yes, they're all positive. All the mitzvahs are positive. What could be more positive than a mitzvah? The whole idea of a negative mitzvah, that's a misnomer. It's a contradiction. No such thing. Nothing negative about a mitzvah. Okay. So at any rate, now we go to please, Alan, continue
Okay.
for us.
Number 23, positive and negative mitzvahs of the Torah which depend on the legs. Positive mitzvah. If a mitzvah it is a mitzvah to fully stand for one's father or mother. Rav Yosef, who was blind when he could hear the sound of his mother's footsteps, would stand and say, I stand for the divine presence which is coming. Kedushin 31b. A child is even obligated to stand 100 times a day for his parents. One is also obligated to stand for a grandfather, a grandmother, or his mother's husband, or his father's wife. The mitzvah of honoring one's parents includes when one's father or mother send him to perform a certain task, that he must go immediately and with alacrity. There's a mitzvah to stand fully before a Torah scholar when he comes within 4 amos, approximately 6 feet, of the place where a person is sitting. The seating, even if the sage is not elderly, is a mitzvah to fully stand before an elderly person over the age of 60. A person who is accustomed to these practices merits the fear of heaven. It's a mitzvah to stand before a Torah scroll. There's a mitzvah to stand when one is testifying. It's a mitzvah to visit sick people and to make an effort to provide everything that they need. Whoever does not visit the infirm, if he spills blood, it's a mitzvah to accompany for a short distance a person who is embarking on a journey. Whoever does not accompany him as if he spills blood. Whoever accompanies him, even 4 amos in the city, will not be harmed, and his reward has no limit. It is a mitzvah to accompany a deceased person until he is buried. Whoever sees a funeral procession does not accompany deceased for a distance of at least 4 amos will be severely punished, like one who blasphemes Hashem. It's a mitzvah to stand when one prays Shemon Esrei. Likewise, the mitzvah of Omer, waving the barley stalks after the first day of Pesach, tzitzis and tikio, the blowing of the shofar from Rosh Hashanah must be done while standing. The mnemonic device for this is the counsel of Hashem stands forever. Mitzvah chalitza, the removal of the shoe done by the widow to his virgin brother-in-law, is done to a foot.
So that's a mitzvah dependent on the legs. Mitzvah of chalitza. Okay. Okay, very good. And now those were the mitzvahs essay. Now we go to the mitzvahs losasay. Then we go back to Mayor to continue.
Oh, okay. Okay, let's see. It is prohibited to go beyond the Shabbat boundary, which is defined as 2,000 amot beyond the city limits. It is prohibited to return to settle in the land of Egypt. It is prohibited to bow before an idol. Included in this, not to pray in a building in which there is an idol in in the presence of an idol. Not to bow down to a Gentile who is wearing an idol. Not to bend down when entering a building in which there is an idol. One should enter backwards and not bow down to pick up something which fell before an idol without turning his back to the idol. It is prohibited to prostrate oneself on a stone floor, even for God, except in the holy temple. Prostration, which is done with the protrusion of one's hands and feet, is prohibited by the Torah. Without the protrusion of hands and feet, it is rabbinically prescribed. Therefore, it is necessary to spread mats or boards in synagogues which have stone floors when prostration is done.
Ken, just a minute. Did you speak to my wife?
Сегодня will be in the maybe she left.
Oh, okay. That's what she said. That's where it is. Okay. Go to. All right. So. Okay. So those are the mitzvahs los to say. Okay. Page 20. Not page 20. Page 42. First of all, a round of applause for page 42. 42. We got 42. We can't be remiss in our giving cover to the pages of Torah that we learned. And now we go to chapter 24 on page 43. And Lou is, I think, in line to read.
All right, I'll give it a try. Hopefully I won't get another call.
Oh, okay. Don't worry.
Positive and I'm saying aseh v'lo saseh mitzvot of rabbinic origin, which depend on the legs. Aseh mitzvot. It is a mitzvah to run to the synagogue and the Beit Midrash, and to run to do every mitzvah, even on Shabbos. It is a mitzvah to be counted among the first 10 men in a shul for prayer. It is a mitzvah to align one's legs during the silent prayer and Kedusha. It is a mitzvah to bow at the knee for the first and second blessing of avot in the silent prayer. In the first and second blessing of hoda'ah, thanksgiving, also in the silent prayer. In Oseh Shalom, and together with the Chazan for Modim. It's a mitzvah back by Oseh Shalom, like one who is taking leave of a king. It's a mitzvah to stand for the blessing of the new moon, like one who is greeting the divine presence. It is a mitzvah to visit one's Rebbe on the 3 festivals. It is a mitzvah to greet one's Rebbe or friend who has traveled to meet him. It is a mitzvah to go to the house of a mourner in order to console him. It is a mitzvah to go to a wedding. One is required to make an effort to travel an extra 4 milim, approximately 2 miles, in order to pray with 10 men and not by himself. If the minyan is in the opposite direction of his traveling, one only has to return 1 mil. These same rules apply to someone traveling, that is, in regard to obtaining water for ritually washing one's hands in the morning for shacharis. There's a mitzvah to run to greet Gentile kings. If one merits, he will discern the difference between Gentile and Jewish kings. A person needs to refrain from associating with a person who has an angry temperament. A person needs to distance himself from a bad neighbor. A person must avoid associating with an evil person. A person who has suffering or sickness in his home should go to a Torah scholar and request that the sage beseech heaven to have pity upon him. As it says, the anger of the king is like angels of death, but a wise man will placate it.
Wow.
So is he saying it's a mitzvah to go to a sage, or it's just a nice thing to do?
Yeah, what's person who has suffering or sickness in his home should go to a Torah scholar. He should go. What's the question?
Well, he's saying it's a mitzvah, it's a mitzvah, it's a mitzvah, it's a mitzvah, and then all of a sudden he says, and you should go. So is he making a distinction that it's not a mitzvah in this case?
Well, that's a good question. I mean, he's listing mitzvahs lo saseh and mitzvahs essay, midrabanan. So according to the heading, all these things are mitzvahs. Does he say by every single case that it's a mitzvah?
Seems like it, except these last couple.
Last time he said mitzvah, it's a mitzvah to greet a Gentile king. And then he just said he needs to refrain from, needs to distance himself from, must avoid. So one question we could ask is, what are we going to ask? In other words, do you get a mitzvah for doing it? Is it counted that you got a mitzvah?
And if not, what is it?
Well, the other thing that it could be is that it's just that he's giving you an Eitz Tova.
Mm-hmm.
That see, we should really have to look up the source of this, as we always try to do. let's see, do we have time to do that? We have 10 minutes.
10 minutes.
We could look in my Sefer Haredim. Okay, let's see here. But I don't have the Sefer Haredim with me available at this point. So, yeah, it's a good point. In other words, when he says it's a mitzvah, he's generally talking about a mitzvah essay. And when he's saying it's prohibited, he's talking about a mitzvah losasei, whether it's a losasei d'Rabbanan, whether it's losasei d'Raisa, from the Torah, from the Rabbanan. But if he doesn't use either one of those expressions, it's prohibited or that it's a mitzvah. So what exactly is the, is it simply just a, it's an Eitzah Tova? Yeah. And then of course, after that, the question is, my nafkamina. What's the difference whether it's a mitzvah or it's just simply advice of Chazal? Does that have any practical, so you'll say, well, in this case, you get a mitzvah. In this case, you don't get a mitzvah. But it's always a mitzvah to listen to what Chazal say. But it's but it's okay. In any case, that's what we have so far. And unfortunately, I don't have the ability to go and get the Sefer right now. So let's just go on and we'll keep it in mind. We'll keep it in mind. Maybe we'll get back to it, and I'll get back to you on that. So in the meantime, we have a round of applause for page 43, and we're going to start with the mitzvah losasei in this last section of mitzvah losasei midrabanan. And who's next is Roy.
Positive mitzvot of the Torah which depend on the male organ. It is a mitzvah to circumcise one's son.
We didn't do the.
Negative mitzvot. Right.
Yeah.
It is prohibited to take an excessively large step when leaving the synagogue. It is prohibited to take an excessively large step on Shabbos. It was not even permitted on a weekday. The Holy One, blessed be he, despises someone who enters his own home suddenly, all the more so the home of his friend. Once a Torah scroll is opened to be read in the synagogue, it is prohibited to leave, except in between the people called up for aliyot. Regarding one who leaves, the verse in Yeshayahu 1:28 declares, and those who leave, Hashem will be destroyed. It is prohibited to pass or sit in front of a person who is saying the silent prayer unless there is a distance of 4 amos, about 6 feet between them. One is not allowed to pass by the back of the synagogue at the time the congregation is praying, lest he cause suspicion that he is not willing to pray with them. It is prohibited to walk 4 amos without washing one's hand after sleeping. It is prohibited to walk 4 amos in a fully erect manner, with or without his head covered, for the whole earth is full of his glory. It is a great mitzvah to cherish the land of Israel and to journey unto it from the ends of the earth with great passion, like a son who returns to his mother's embrace.
Okay, so these are all mitzvahs derabanan, mitzvahs losasei midrabanan.
I read somewhere that it's also forbidden to pass to the side or the back of someone who's praying, davening Shema Esra within a certain distance.
To pass behind him?
Even that, yes.
I heard there are three.
Alavai, people just don't just observe the passing in front of him.
Yes, true.
That's the main that's the main prohibition here. People
I
are
heard-
not aware of
I
it. People
I
are not
heard-
aware of it. Sorry?
I heard there are three svaras. One is a circle, which means in front and in back are equally important. One is a semicircle, meaning in back is permitted, but in front or to the side is prohibited. And the third is a triangle, meaning that it's only in front, not to the side, not to the back.
Yeah. Well, as I say, I mean, sometimes it's the fault of the person who's davening. If he puts himself, like in front of the door, or in a place where people are generally, need to. That's how they exit the shul when they're allowed to. So that's really that's really the fault of the person who's davening. He may also not realize that that it's prohibited to walk in front of him when he's davening. So therefore, that's what he does. But it's I don't know why people are so lenient in this matter. They just it's not convenient. It's a very not convenient because they want to go where they want to go, and they feel like they're being imprisoned if they can't go where they want to go. But nevertheless, it's a prohibition. The reason why, I'll tell you the reason why, so you get a little bit more of an understanding of the matter. When a person is davening, the Shekhinah is opposite him. The Shekhinah is opposite him. The divine presence is opposite him, and he is and Hashem is listening to everything this person says, and to walk in between this connection between the Shekhinah and the Mispalel is a disrespect to the Shekhinah. And secondly, which is perhaps even more easy to understand, we don't relate so much to the presence of the Shekhinah when we daven. It seems to be a very remote concept to us. But just the fact that the person is trying to daven, and when you're walking in front of him, you're disturbing him. You're disturbing his concentration, and that's an improper thing to do. Okay. So and if you'll say, oh, but so many people do it, and even people that look like they're rabbis, I know. I don't know. I don't know what to say.
What about if it's the only way out of the shul that you want to, and you need to go out of the shul? Have to go say,
That's what people say. What am I supposed to do? I'm in prison over here. What should I do? That's why I said that before. I said, this is there may be a leniency in the case of a person who he's blocking the way to get out of the shul, right? He shouldn't daven there. So he basically is saying, he doesn't have a right to daven there. He has no right to daven there. He shouldn't daven in a place which people can't get out of the shul. So
would you be able to pick him up and move him?
no, you could. There's no other way to get out of the shul.
Yes, there's no other way.
There's no other way to get out. He's davening in the
It's
in the doorway to get out of the shul.
yeah.
Yeah. So
It happens
know-
quite frequently, Rabbi. In fact, it happens in our minyan in Samanafshi, where we daven in a room that
oh
has
yeah, I know
one-
that place is very very poorly designed.
So it
Yeah,
happens.
I don't like that room at all.
And what happens is people come late
Poorly designed.
and they can't get in, so they just
Yeah.
stand there.
So
Yeah,
can
see,
you
what I
pick him
used to-
up?
Yeah, what one should do in a case like that is when I did that a few times is when I davened outside the door, outside the door by the coat rack, and like that nobody's walking in front of me because I'm right in front of the wall there. And at the same time, I'm not blocking the exit to the shtibel either.
But do you lose out on davening B'tzibor because you're not in the same room?
Well, I mean, the door is open, and I'm able to see the people there. They're able to see me there, and so according to most opinions, that's Tefillah B'tzibor. That's basically what many people did during this last Tekufa of Corona.
Right.
They wanted to so the door is left open, and people can see one another from one room to the other, and that's the Tefillah B'tzibor. So in this situation, where the choice is to walk in front of other people who are davening, which is usher, and to rely on those opinions who say that it's still considered Tefillah B'tzibor to daven in that fashion, that's a very good eitzah. And the truth of the matter is even if it wouldn't be regarded as Tefillah B'tzibor, that doesn't give a person a right to violate this Issa D'Rabbanan, to walk in front of a number of people and disturb their concentration. So let him go to another minyan, or let him just daven somewhere else. But he's
Tell
not
him off.
gaining. It's a mitzvah ba'aveira. He's not gaining a mitzvah of tefillah. He's getting a prohibition of disturbing other people's davening. So it's not something that is allowed to be done.
But nonetheless, the question is, are you allowed to remove him while he's davening? To pick him up and move him a few feet?
Well, you have to leave right now. What's the issue?
Got to go to the bathroom
You have to go to the bathroom.
badly.
Oh, it's 11:34 already.
No, still answer the question.
And no, that's already if a person has to go to the bathroom, that's something else. That's covered a brius, and that would be docha, even alosa say midrabanan, which that's what this is over here, I believe. So that would be if a person he just he needs to go to the bathroom, that would be something that it would be allowed.
So do you just push back by him, or do you do what Roy said and pick him up and move him?
Oh, you can't get through. He's mamish in the middle of the door.
Yeah,
That I never saw.
I've seen it.
I'll tell you something. Usually people like that, they usually take about 3 minutes to daven also. So you don't have to wait too long before he's not there anymore.
Okay,
Okay,
That's
All
the
right.
truth. That's the truth. And the properly, it could be the reason is because he realizes that he's blocking the door over there.
right.
You know, he's not going to take a long time.
Well, the Gabbai should certainly tell him off, and so that other people could hear as well.
Well, in our shul, we
Maybe
have a sign that says you're not allowed to daven in this place right here in front of the door.
Hmm. All right.
There should be an announcement. There should be an announcement so that people, people are aware of this.
Hmm.
It's I know it's a very common thing. It's a very common thing, especially in, Shtibelach, when people are going in and out from this minion to the other minion to that minion, and there are all the different minions, and it's a mess. It's a really, it needs to be corrected. Okay. We want to
you,
send
Baba.
Mayor off. We don't want to imprison Mayor here with the first shir.
Hey, be well, everybody.
Talk about imprisoning people.